Hi there, hitting you up with another recipe, chicken cutlet panini. I took a little spin on my chicken cutlet recipe and added it to panini, and I hope you enjoy it. First, I'm going to use some block Parmesan cheese, shredded up. You could buy the packaged kind or even the shake kind if you'd like. I just wanted something a little bit more fresher. So I had about a half cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. It's fun to have one of these little shredders. I feel like I'm at Olive Garden or at a restaurant having this little grater. So you just cut up chunks from it, put it in a bowl, spin away. This recipe is going to be paired with my 60 clove garlic soup. So you'll see a little bit of combination of both things here. And excuse my appearance, I am a traveling nurse and I just got back on a Friday and I really wanted to cook for my family. So just in some comfy clothes. I even think I have some stains on the shirt. I don't care. I just want to be comfortable and cook some good fall food for my family. So usually when you have the chunks, you got to kind of maneuver them a little bit to make sure that you get them all. Seems like I was doing more of that than anything. They seem to get wedged sometimes. And then I just gave up and said, okay, fine, we're good. Moving on. The next step that you're going to do is start preparing your chicken. So you could buy breasts of chicken and cut them in half. You could ask your butcher to make them cut thin for you, but you want to have a chicken breast. I happen to find my chicken cutlets at the store perfectly thin. So I didn't need to cut them. I didn't even need to pound them. I left them as it is. I think the thickness was appropriate. I don't think I wanted it any more thinner than that. If I did, then I think I would pretty much be tasting a really hard piece of chicken because at that point it was too thin. Sprinkle it with some kosher salt or some pink Himalayan salt. I put some pepper. I put all my seasonings on both sides, so I just kind of laid them flat and sprinkled generously. Some garlic powder, which I didn't go heavy with because, again, I'm making that soup and pairing this with that, so I didn't want to have too much. I had Italian seasoning, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, and just generously sprinkled that all over. Now, when you're preparing your chicken ahead of time, you want to make sure that you wash it off and pat it dry. Here is the trick. I use two different kinds of breadcrumbs, the regular Italian seasoned breadcrumbs, and I use the panko ones. Now, the panko didn't come seasoned, so I added some seasoning into it. Again, I want a lot of flavor coming out of these cutlets. So not only is the meat, so is the breading seasoned. So depending on how many cutlets you make is how much breadcrumbs you're going to need. So I can't really give you a measurement on that because you need to pretty much balance with what you have. So here I'm showing just the regular Italian or garlic and herb breadcrumbs. It's fine. And then I have 2 eggs that I'm using, which is perfect for the amount of cutlets that I had. Crack them, beat them. I even seasoned the eggs too. Fortunately, my chicken, I don't know what she's doing. She's free-ranging in the yard. So I think she lays eggs somewhere in the yard. So I don't have my fresh eggs from my garden or from my chicken. But, you know, I'll be closing the coop pretty soon as the weather's changing. So she won't be free-ranging. So maybe I'll have some eggs again. So you're going to beat the eggs up. And now you're going to go for the dipping your chicken into, I added a little milk in here too. It's okay, whichever way you want. You can either leave it in there or not. I'm going to put it into the egg mixture, then dip it into the breadcrumbs, And I combined the breadcrumbs, so both it was separate here, but eventually I put them together and then just spread it in there. The trick is to make sure that when you're putting your cutlet into the bowl with the breading, that you really mash those breadcrumbs into the cutlet so you can get a nice crust formed. Here I'm blending in the different breadcrumbs. I really enjoyed this. I've seen different recipes. People put a little flour in there. Some people don't use the panko. I like it. I like panko. It gives a little more crunch, personally, but to each their own. Meanwhile, in my cast iron pan, so there's the pesto that I'm going to be using with this, but I'll tell you about that a little later. In my cast iron pan that's on the stove right next to my soup that's boiling is a full and the mozzarella cheese fresh that I'm going to be using with the pesto. Ooh la la, with the cutlets. And then I'm going to have spinach we'll be showing you too. And I'm using this Italian crusty bread for my panini. But back to the oil. So I'm using vegetable oil. I want it enough to cover the chicken cutlets when I'm putting them in there. So it makes them nice and crispy. Some people would use less and fry with less. This is what I choose. So I'm just kind of cleaning up as I go. Don't like a big mess. Again, this is my relaxing weekend, not my stress of cleaning up all my mess. It's really to enjoy the food and find out these recipes. So here I'm going to take my chicken, dip it into the egg. Get it on both sides. This is a sloppy job. This is not a clean process. As much as you try, it seems to always be this way. You could use gloves if you wanted. I try to keep it as clean as I can, but it really, the cross-contamination, all of these things are going to go in the same thing, and then you're just putting it on a cookie sheet, so it's irrelevant. I'm not touching any other food. I'm not making anything else. It's strictly staying to, breading and coating the chicken. So here I am smushing in those breadcrumbs like I mentioned to have a nice covering on both sides. That is a nice cutlet. Yeah, it gets a little irritating to have it on my fingers after a while, so I just gotta wipe it off the paper towel. To each their own. Go ahead, keep doing it back and forth until you get all of these cutlets done. When you have one breading, might as well just put another one in the egg wash and just kind of sitting there. Here sometimes I'll take a spoon and cover it over it. I haven't made chicken cutlets in I don't even know how long, but I just really wanted something nice to pair with my soup that I knew was going to be really garlicky and most likely a little salty. So I paired it with some sandwich. I found what kind of sandwich is going to go good. And in the last week as I'm traveling, I haven't had a lot of meat in my diet. I mean, I had protein, I had beans, and I have had salads and stuff of that nature, but I didn't really get a lot of meat. So I was really craving some protein when I came home. So I know I wanted to try this soup recipe, and I didn't want to have just a sandwich with cheese, which would have went well. You make like a 3 cheese sandwich, panini or whatever, or grilled cheese. It would have went well too. I just wanted a little protein with it. And then as I go, my tangents are, I start thinking of all the things that would go great with a panini. You get a chicken cutlet. What else can you blend with it? I'm going to have some fresh mozzarella. And then that came through. And then I'm like, I saw pesto in the store. I'm like, I'm going to grab some pesto. I think that'd be a nice covering for the bread. And then, of course, you get that. And then you got to add a little green in it. So I added some spinach. So I had to put a halt on that. I couldn't go any further. But I probably could if I wanted to. Sometimes my creativity just kind of flows with certain flavors that I'm trying to capture. So if you haven't made chicken cutlets before, it's not complicated. It's pretty easy. It's as simple as what you're seeing, and I think you'll really enjoy them. You can actually put cutlets on so many different things. You could put it over pasta. You could have them just plain. I know there's a few TikTokers that usually make chicken cutlets and it's the big thing. But, I mean, it's really quick. Your kids would probably like them because they're very close to like a chicken nugget. You can top them off with cheese. But this was a very, very quick recipe to make. So here is the finished product of all my breaded cutlets. Now I'm going to have a little sip of wine to enjoy. Can't help but have a little bit of Pinot Noir. So like I said, I have my vegetable oil covering just barely my cutlets, and you're going to want to stick them in there when it's boiling. So the old trick to see if you're or hot, to see if your oil is hot, is just a little splash of water. I just kind of think a little splash of water and it sizzles, then I know I'm ready to start cooking. And you're going to want to cook your cutlets until they get brown around the edges. See how it's brown around the edges, and then you can flip them. Some people lightly salt them afterwards. I did not. I had my panini maker ready to go. I got some flavored butter that I'm gonna spread on the, I'm gonna actually put some in the oil too to give it some more flavor, but I'm also gonna be spreading it on one end of my bread. So it just gives it a little bit more flavor to your cutlet. And then I'm going to put that on my panini maker. And as you can see, sink full of dishes. This is a work in progress. So put it on this little panini maker and let it go and get toasty. Once it's a little toasted, then I add pesto on both sides. My son said he thought it was too much pesto. I love pesto. I think it was an ample amount of pesto. But if you're somebody that's not a big fan of so much pesto, so much basil, do one side. Layer some spinach in there. I didn't get the big stalks off. I didn't like to really bite into the stalks, so I just really focusing on just the leaves. And then put my chicken cutlet down and put my slices of fresh mozzarella. Now you could use any cheese of your choice. I just thought all of this paired very nicely. And then put the top on. Smash that bad boy down a little bit. Center it more into the panini maker. Gives you nice little char marks. And again, I can't tell you how long. It depends on your panini maker, your size of your sandwich. And then you take it and you just cut it in half. And there it is. Your chicken cutlet, mozzarella, spinach and pesto panini to be paired with your garlic soup or any soup of your choice. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and this recipe. And if you have any suggestions or comments, please leave them and make sure you subscribe. Thank you for stopping back at Busy Lady Life channel.